The Driveway Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Driveway. We got Danny and Danny on the other side there. It is episode number 3, so welcome back. It is Wednesday, January 21st. We got a few things to cover for you, including that famous national championship game that we'll get to at the end there. But first things first, let's go through some NFL so we can kind of get this and knock this out of the way. There's been a few games, a few tough ones. Bears loss. We get it. We'll get into it. But the big thing here I wanted to give is a little bit of time to talk about this Broncos-Bills game, because obviously I think that's the one that most people are talking about. It was a Broncos win. Broncos win in Denver 33-30. They knock out Josh Allen. They get Sean McDermott fired. Unfortunately, both teams suffered a tremendous loss, even with the Broncos advancing. Obviously, the Broncos lose their star QB Bo Nix for the rest of the season. It is Jarrett Stidham for the rest of the way. And as I asked you with many episodes here, Danny, how are you feeling after this matchup? Are you kind of high hopes, low hopes? What's the mindset here?
Yeah, we've talked about this about 7 times now because we were having technical difficulties. By the way, as we were talking about this, I just got a notification, a little bit of breaking news here. Um, the Milwaukee Brewers traded Freddie Peralta to the New York Mets.
To the Mets. Okay, Mets are making some moves. Mets are making some moves.
Um, the Brewers just traded, and they've done this all like for a while. They've been doing this, but they just traded their ace pitcher a year after they almost made it to a World Series. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You don't see that often. Mm-hmm.
But then they just take whatever young players they get in return, get them MLB ready right away, and then continue. And it's like kind of a next man up mentality. But I'm a little shocked, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. I like that floored me a little bit because Freddie Peralta was like lights out last season. So
Yeah. No, that's
um,
definitely a bit shocking for breaking news. I mean, good way to step up there, D. Nice.
yeah, that's mind
Step
blowing.
up,
But
Shefty.
going, yeah, a little bit of Schefter, but let's go into that Broncos and Bills game. So I'm not shocked at the way it went down. I'm a little, I was shocked at the high scoring nature of that game, but Buffalo's been doing that. Not Buffalo. Denver's been doing that all season long, where they've just found ways to pull out these like magical wins, ugly wins, and I would say this was more of an ugly win than a magical one, simply because um, I don't think Denver's defense played their characteristically great style of play, which kind of shocked me a little bit. Buffalo's offense moved the ball quite easily on them, and I was a little bit shocked, bummed out for Josh Allen, but shocked at the way he kind of fell apart there. We're so
Yeah.
used to seeing him be the Superman in these postseason games, and he just wasn't that. And I think a lot of that has to do with kind of the responsibility that he shouldered throughout this season and the postseason, with his receiver core not being very complete. But it's a little bit of a shocking ending to the McDermott era. I think we mentioned that it kind of reminds us of when Dungy got kicked out of Tampa and they brought in Gruden. I'm sorry, I'm moving around here a lot,
You're good.
but
Yeah.
I think the shocking and kind of the most important takeaway from this weekend was the injury to Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that changes everything now. I mean, obviously, Sean Payton has his guy because Jarrett Stidham has been on the roster for 2 straight years now, so he hasn't played a single snap, but he's been on the roster, so it's definitely his guy. Um, in terms of last thing we need to cover for the Bills, because obviously we should cover the Broncos. They are the winning team. With the Bills, do you think Sean McDermott firing was deserved? What would you have done in that scenario?
Well, I don't know if I would have fired McDermott unless I had somebody in the pipeline, right? We're hearing Dable, we're hearing Joe Brady, and my question there is, what's the point of firing McDermott if you're going to be just bringing in someone else that has been in that building?
Yeah,
Um, it's just it's strange. Like I'd understand if you let go of McDermott and you had Harbaugh in the waiting, or Tomlin was going to take the job, or you felt Stefanski was going to take the job, and you were going to elevate yourself from there. But I'm a little confused with the direction because it felt like a very emotional decision.
yeah, it did.
Um, McDermott, McDermott was kind of unraveled a little bit and getting on the podium, and he's usually soft spoken, but he was blaming the referees for the loss and saying he was standing up for the city of Buffalo, and that was a little strange. I haven't seen that. This has been a weird season, a weird year for coaches. We saw Todd Bowles, his kind of lashing out towards the end of
Yeah,
the end of the season, and then of course kind of the carousel. It's been crazier than we've ever seen in both college and NFL. But um, I guess I'm a little lost that you're immediately looking at two guys who've been on the staff and weren't able to get it done.
hmm
Um, I don't know. How much of an improvement would Dable make? How much of an improvement would Joe Brady make? I don't see it being much better
that's
than the
the tough thing,
McDermott
right?
era.
Is that unfortunately, it's the chances of it being a downgrade are so much higher than it being an upgrade. Because Sean McDermott was still that guy. Like he still is going to go out and get a good job somewhere. But the firing had to happen simply for one reason, and that's because if you keep running it back, unfortunately, if you get the same results, you start to get used to those results. And Bills fans don't deserve to get used to, okay, this is a third round exit for us this year again, right? In a year like that with
Yeah,
no Mahomes and no Lamar, like it's difficult to help Josh Allen, but unfortunately, it is Josh Allen. Like you do have to help him one way or another. And Sean McDermott wasn't doing, I guess, his due diligence in the playoffs, but it's difficult. We'll see what the next steps are going to be. But enough of covering the Bills. I apologize to you, Bills fans, but I think the Broncos do deserve a little bit more conversation here simply just because they did win. Bo Nix did outplay Josh Allen. I can say that with a full heart. I think he did. And unfortunately, we will not be seeing Bo Nix for the rest of the season. Jarrett Stidham is your guy. He is your guy heading into this AFC Championship versus the Patriots. Danny, tell me a little bit if I should be worried. If I'm a Patriots fan, should I be worried about Jarrett Stidham?
yeah. If you're a Patriots fan, you should be more worried about your play than you should be worried about what's going on in the building in Denver. The Patriots really have. They didn't play a great game. I didn't think they played very well against the Chargers. They kind of benefited from Justin Herbert playing like shit. And then last game, you want to talk about playing like shit. CJ Stroud played one of the worst games I've ever seen.
Mm,
You know, if Davis Mills comes in, we could be talking about the Texans playing in the AFC title
100%.
game. Um, we can get to that game when we get there. But, um, Sean Payton can win. If there's any coach that's going to be able to win with a backup quarterback in the AFC title game, it's going to be Sean Payton. Um, Knicks and Stidham have taken similar paths. Um, they both, right after Stidham was done with his tenure in Auburn, Knicks was the next guy up. And it's kind of interesting now because now we're seeing Knicks go down and Stidham's kind of being the next guy up in this situation, but it's just
Mm,
with Denver, not Auburn. Um, I think, if Stidham comes in and he limits mistakes and he trusts the guys or the playmakers around him, and Denver's defense plays a much better game than they did last week. And they kind of get back to the way they've been playing all season long. I think Denver could totally win at home. Mile High is a tricky game, or a tricky game, tricky place to play. And if they can limit, Drake May has been hitting a lot of deep plays. Even though I thought he had some really good drives against Houston, the big kind of threat that comes from May is he's been able to find, these big play abilities. That Keyshawn Booty
yeah,
passing
that was,
catch was unreal. But um, I definitely think Denver can come in and win this game.
Hmm.
I don't think it's 100% New England's going to win. I still think it's going to be a close-ish game. Denver really needs to get out and try to jump all over them. But I think Sean Payton, I think a big reason why he got out there and immediately said Jared Stidham's our guy, Bo Nix's injury is done, was because he kind of just wanted to immediately go into game planning for Stidham.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing that I'm concerned about is Denver's kind of had to rely a lot on these fourth quarter comebacks, and they've kind of had to rely a lot on this magic fourth quarter play from Bo Nix.
Hmm.
Now that Bo Nix is gone, where's that magic come from? Stidham, I doubt he's going to be able to come back and recreate and do a Bo Nix impression in the fourth quarter. So you're going to have to be a little bit more balanced, and you're going to have to play a solid full game, all four quarters. But um, I don't see New England coming in and doing what Seattle did to San Francisco, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very refreshing mindset that you have because this is what people want to hear, right? They don't want to hear that it's immediately welcome to the Super Bowl Patriots, right? Like there is a fighting chance that this Broncos team has, and you've seen it from so many different angles. The only problem was that when we've seen it, Bo Nix was still starting quarterback, and we didn't get a chance to see Stidham, take some practice reps, if any reps at all. But we know for a fact he's going to be taking those first team reps this week. Good luck to the Broncos. It's going to be an interesting game to watch. I am definitely rooting for the Broncos side of it because I don't want to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It would be it would be cool to see Sean Payton kind of readjust and say, hey, backup quarterback makes no fucking difference. Like let's go out and win this football game for the home fans. They still have the home field advantage. Patriots haven't looked altogether that great anyway, but we're going to go to the hypothetical games that are coming up and the hypothetical endings to what those games could be or look like. But let's head on to the next game here while we're still recording. We're doing good. Okay, this is the real game that broke our hearts for Chicago Bears fans. Cardiac Bears, the fourth quarter Bears, right? You're honestly the team that made NFL fun again, I will say. This season has been absolutely a wonderful time as a Bears fan, and unfortunately, it did come to an end when the Bears hosted the Rams, and the game ended 20-17, also in overtime, which tells you that it was a close matchup. It was tough. I'm not angry. I'm not angry at this loss. This kind of was the expectation of where the ending would be for this Bears team. It more so hurts because we could have won. This game was built in a direction where the Bears could have won this game. Tell me a little more about like what you think of this outcome.
Um, yeah, I thought we were going to get our asses kicked in this game, to be honest
Yeah,
with you. I, the Rams are a better team. They just are. I was kind of shocked that we were in the game and we were keeping it close the way we were. Um, look, man, all losses suck, especially when you
hmm
lose in overtime. Um, I wanted to win the game, especially when I saw how close we were. I've kind of checked this game. I've kind of checked this season as a success when we clinched a playoff spot. You know, personally and selfishly, I kind of was saying this is only a successful season if we beat Green Bay um, in the division in the wild card weekend, which we
which is
did.
partly
And
true. Partly true, obviously,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, it's partly true. Yeah, you kind of had to flip that momentum, and we did. Um, but I, I, man, I'm just still really high on this team, on this organization, on what Ben Johnson is creating. A lot of people were saying he should have kicked the field goals. He should have kicked the field goals. Bullshit. Go out there and win the fucking game.
Yeah.
I have no problem. I have no problem with the way he called that game. I have no problem with him not going for 2 points at the end of the game after Caleb made that unreal. That was probably the best football play I've ever seen in my life.
I'm still
Um,
speechless today.
I am shocked that he did that. You know, honestly, that's why I'm so high on this organization is because I came into the season not knowing if Caleb was the guy. And I'm exiting this season fully confident we have our quarterback.
Hmm.
And I'm fully confident we have our coach. It doesn't look like we're going to get rated in our coaching staff, so these guys are going to be back next season.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people are talking about us being a team that's going to regress. Like, they're saying the injury bugs happen. What do you think happened to us this season? Our
Yeah,
entire team got injured. Like our
exactly.
entire defense was injured, and we found ways around it. So, um, I'm excited to see what happens with a draft and an off season, and uh, after this first season's over, going into the second season, can Caleb do the easy things? We know he can do the hard things. Can he improve on doing the easy things? Um, but look, I heard someone say they compared this to Mahomes losing to Brady early on in
Yeah.
his career. I really feel like that was it. Like Caleb went toe to toe with Stafford. He had Devontae Adams coming up to him after the game saying, "Man, you're a dog. You're incredible." Like Caleb Williams is here, and
Hmm.
we're going to be good for a long time.
Exactly.
We got people. We got people like Stephen A. saying we're going to win a championship in 3 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, this season has completely blown away all expectations. This hands down, even with the tough loss to Stafford and the Rams, this has been one of the best seasons, if not the best season of my entire life as a Bears fan.
Hmm.
And I know we talked about last week. You were only 7 years old. '06 was great, but
Yeah.
the pain in watching us get destroyed by Peyton Manning and the Colts in the Super Bowl kind of really dampers that season, even though it was such a great, dominant season. Um, man, I just am so grateful for the season we had,
Yeah.
and in a season where everything kind of felt like we were on a ledge about to fall.
Hmm.
We never fell. We never fell. And I don't see us losing to a tough Rams team as us. You know, I saw in the Chicago Times, good, better, bust is what they said.
Ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
you know what I would say? Good, better, best is yet to come.
Hmm.
Because man, I'm just blown away by the season that we had. And it feels good knowing that we have a quarterback. And if you just look at the way Caleb improved from week 1 and 2 to the end of the season, what do you think him and Ben Johnson are going to do with an entire offseason? And then you bring
Cook.
in new players, like you know what I mean. We're just gonna keep getting better. I
Hmm.
don't think there's going to be regression. Obviously, the division's hard, right? And our schedule's going to get harder. Um, but we've beaten good teams, and we showed that we could play with anyone. So now,
Yeah.
I think teams got to get ready to compete with us, and it's not so much of, oh, how are we going to beat these teams? No, teams are going to be saying, how do we beat the Bears?
Yeah. This is how you measure success, right? The Bears, in my opinion, with the second we had a winning record, that was truly success. We didn't even have to win the division. We didn't have to beat Green Bay in the playoffs. Like this was still all an immaculate success. And at the end of the day, this was an experiment. This team wasn't built to go out and win a championship. I don't think we would have made the Super Bowl. I don't. But even if we did, I like it would have been very, very exciting. But the expectation wasn't there for me yet. This I like what you said, where it's like best is yet to come. This is an experiment that was a success. And when you do experiments that lead to success, people get paid. People make money. We win games. That's the future of what this franchise looks like right now. This is the first ending I've had to any Bears season. I could openly say to any Bears season that ended in not the most painful way, right? It sucked losing to the Rams in the playoffs, but this wasn't the expectation, so this was a success. I was smiling after the game because Caleb delivered, dude. This wasn't a game where we lost 30-7, where we could sit there and be like, oh shit, like here we are, we met up with a Rams team. No, Caleb kept us in that game, 3 picks included, right? I mean, if you want to cover that a little bit, that's fine. I think that's kind of the main reason why the game was so close to begin with. I think we could have won single-handedly if a lot of that didn't happen. But again, Caleb kept us in that game and made it exciting, enticing. That last throw. What else am I supposed to say? It's going to be on your highlight reel for the next 10 years. Like everyone's going to be watching
Oh
that
my God,
forever.
yeah.
We're going to see when ESPN released their like best clips, right, of the last decade. You best believe Caleb Williams' clip is going to be on there, dude. Like that's 100% like true thought. And this season showed that the Bears are going to get a Thanksgiving game, Christmas game. The Bears are officially going to be a new franchise that the NFL is going to try to bank off of, which is a good thing. That's something we do want. But in terms of the Rams, right, this was a difficult loss for the Bears, but also the Rams were the better team. They had a way better offense. They did come prepared for bear weather. This was a close game, 20-17. This wasn't like, this is kind of the way Sean McVay likes to win his games. And his next matchup with Seattle will be a little bit different, a little bit more high scoring, I'm sure. But the Bears played. The Bears played the Rams. It was successful. We went and played the Rams. We didn't just lay down and let them kill us. We played them. We played them to their face, and that was the most exciting part. Is that we did that to Green Bay. The first two halves didn't feel like it, but we did that to Green Bay. We won. Here comes the Rams. Like not single shot did I feel like we were not. We didn't deserve to be in that position. We always deserve to be in that position. So that was really exciting. Bears got a playoff game. And I think this is going to shed a little bit more light to some other teams in Chicago here, because I think all the other teams are looking at how much Chicago loves having a winning organization, and they said, why not me? Why not the Bulls? Why not the Sox? Why not the Cubs? It's gonna breed some more light for Chicago, and I think this is a very pleasant time to be a Chicago fan. That's kind of where I'll leave it off there.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this too. And for anyone who's doubting Ben Johnson and doubting the Bears, um, a big reason why we were so close was because we had our full strength secondary,
Yeah.
and we haven't had them since week fucking like 1 and 2. Um, they were. I want people to understand they were our best unit coming into the season.
Hmm.
Like if you asked us preseason, what is the strength to the Bears, we would say our secondary.
Yeah.
And we didn't have them all season long. And the fact that we didn't have them all season long and we still found a way to win the division and Caleb get one playoff win. There were people talking about, hey, 8-9 would be a great step forward for the Bears. Well, we
Hmm.
went fucking 11-6. We
Yeah.
won the North and we won a playoff game against the Packers. So it's like, take that in. And like you said, we already are seeing comments of people saying they would love to play in Chicago with the way the stadiums felt the last couple weeks. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of people joining up to play with us. I think there's going to be a lot of kids coming out of the draft that are excited about. This is going to be the first time that you see someone get drafted to the Bears and be thrilled. Like, I can't tell you how happy I am that I haven't been looking at draft orders and stuff like that. And then I look at it and we're talking about the Bears drafting 25th. Like, thank fucking
Awesome.
God. Like, it feels so good because that means
Yeah.
we're good. And it's like, we're going to see some young defender come or an offensive lineman or whoever they end up trying to draft. I did I not to get sidetracked. I did a mock draft,
Oh, and interesting. Yeah.
and guess who I had Jeremiah Love falling to naturally?
Really, you did? To
Not the
25th?
Bears, but
Okay.
no,
Okay.
not the Bears. Guess who? Just following like who's where they're projected. Guess who he would fall to?
I'll ask you this: is it higher or lower than Genti?
It's lower. It's I'll give you the draft order. It's at number 9 overall,
Well, number
and
nine.
it would scare the living fuck out of me. So I had Jeremiah Love being drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh,
Can you
they could
imagine
use some
Mahomes and
running
Love
back
next
help. Yeah,
season?
that would be ridiculous. Oh my God,
Can
tell me
you
then
imagine
Josh Allen wouldn't
Jeremiah
play.
Love?
Yeah,
Can you imagine that fucking freak of nature standing behind Patrick Mahomes?
yeah.
Ugh, I'm scared to think of it. Like,
That would be absolutely nuts. But I mean, who'd you have? What's a name that you could throw me out one name that you think the Bears would be a good fit for?
Um, well, like Hakeem Mesidor might be sitting around late first round. The nice thing about this draft is a lot of people from the outside are going to be looking at this and say it's not very strong. It's not a very good draft because there's not a lot of huge playmakers coming out. But if you're the Chicago Bears, you're saying yes, because the strength of this draft fit our needs perfectly. There's a lot of offensive linemen and defensive linemen coming out this year.
Yeah, dude, that's
A
gonna be
lot of
exciting.
a lot of game wreckers. So I think the Bears fit perfectly. Uh, I kind of have to see where we would draft, right? I think linebacker could be a position of need for us, just because we've seen some injuries on that, and like I don't know, man. I just feel I don't have as much faith in that unit as I do offensive line, but
Mm.
um, they're saying Ozzy Trapullo could be gone all of next year too.
Yeah, I heard that. That's gonna be difficult.
So it's
But
like
I do
they might
know. I
have
mean,
to
TJ's
draft a
out.
lineman.
TJ's out. Tremaine is probably not going to get re-signed. Who knows? And then Noah Sewell, which is our third string, he also went ahead and tore his ACL, so he will be out for majority beginning of next year. I see the linebacker position being important. Do you think Max Crosby? I mean, what do you think his fit would be in Chicago? Is that someone you go out for? Because obviously
Well,
you're going to be spending a lot of draft picks, a lot of draft capital, and you're giving it to the Raiders. The Raiders are a team that, if you give them the right draft picks, they can kind of build something.
look, if you're gonna give me Max Crosby, you could have as many fucking draft picks as you fucking want.
Hmm.
He's worth every bit of it. I think I think it'll be interesting to see what Poles does with. Um, I think it'll be interesting to see what Poles does with the cap space because
Yeah.
there's a lot of really interesting linebackers um, and defensive linemen uh, that are coming in free agency that are atop the free agency. Some names just to go off of right now. Um, Let me pull it up here. So Trey Hendrickson,
Yeah.
obviously, we've heard the Bears linked to him for a while. Um, Interesting pick. He's an elite pass rusher, Jalen Phillips.
Jalen
I know a lot of
Phillips.
people expect the Eagles to go and get him, but he's out there. And after the Packers lost their defensive coordinator to the Miami Dolphins, Quay Walker is
Yeah.
sitting out there. That would be a steal. I think Walker would fit in our lineup pretty well.
Hmm.
But those are three guys that are sitting at the top 10 free agency lists that are an immediate need and upgrade for the Bears. But um, we'll have to see what Poles does
Hmm.
in terms of cap space. He's going to have to move some shit around. But Poles has done that very well
He has
in
done
his
that
time
very
here.
well. Yeah.
And one thing we can always expect is come around March, we're going to get a stockpile of guys Ryan Poles has signed. And hey, I think he's had a great couple seasons. I mean, I know a lot of people go very hard on Ryan Poles. But this guy's brought Ben Johnson in. He's brought Caleb Williams in. He got that trade with DJ Moore.
Yeah.
And look, people need to stop with the DJ Moore fucked up on that route that lost us the game. Look, first off, I'm not making excuses. I think he might have been concussed from the previous play. But look, we're not in that situation without DJ Moore. Do people forget that
True.
he's the guy who caught those two game-winning touchdown passes against the Packers?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm taking those two wins against the Packers over this loss against the Rams any day.
Very well
So,
said. Really well said, Danny. I
so,
totally agree with that. Yeah.
so, give DJ Moore a little bit of credit and a little bit of slack for that game. And he's not the only one. I mean, he was
Yeah.
being
Exactly.
doubled
Rome
after
Odunze dropped
Loveland
a
left the
tutty,
game.
right? There's a lot of question
Rome
marks.
Rome has to step up. Rome
Rome
has
has
to
to step
step up.
up.
There's too many fucking drops. I am not giving him any leeway. I
Hmm.
mean, he's dropping passes that like are perfectly placed for him to catch. He
And
was
he knows
supposed to
that
be
too.
our number one guy, and he knows it, right? And you know what? I'm so happy we brought in Luther Burden because I think
Hmm.
Rome also knows this is a guy that's going to be taking my job in a year or two if I'm not careful.
Hmm. No, you're 100% right, and that's part of where teams like us talk now. I mean, we had a winning record, so now we get to sit here and be like, how do we improve rather than how do we take a step back or how do we rebuild? how do we improve this roster? And that's the most exciting part about all of this is that, yeah, we have a hard schedule. Yeah, there are a lot of different names. Fortunately, we do have to close this chapter of this amazing season that we had as a Bears fan and organization. But that's the important thing is that you can close it off with a success, be positive, be interested towards the next offseason. My brother, right, my older brother, Paul, he calls me now and he's just like, man, if it wasn't for the Bears, I wouldn't care about football. I wouldn't care about football. Now he's watching all the games. He's getting interested into everything. The Bears being back is good for the NFL. And with that, unless you have any other closing remarks, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kiss the Bears season goodbye. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the conversation, the memories. So unfortunately, we do have other games to cover. That's just kind of how it is in the sports world. Fortunately, we have to cover other topics. If you had any closing remarks, that's going to be cheers for me on the Bears side of things.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say get ready for primetime games, and the Jaguars are on our schedule again next season, so I would not doubt if they send Bears Jaguars to London. So just get ready
Yeah,
for that shit.
that's a good point. So that's another 8 a.m. game for you guys that are usually up watching that game. I know I enjoy the London games, but hang on to the next one. We talked a little bit about poor performances early on. So far, we've had nothing but stellar QB performances in these first two games. Patriots at no Texans at Patriots. Texans lost 28-16. CJ Stroud had 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles. You know, he had a pressure rate of like almost 50%. This was a very bad game for Texans fans, I would say. I mean, the defense played well. They did hold Drake May to a pretty underwhelming game as well, but I don't know how you could sit here and feel confident being like if I put him in a position like that, this is more than shit the bed, dude. This is more than shit the bed. This is shit in his sleep entirely. Like he wasn't even awake for half this game. Man, I'm really pissed off at how this his matchup went because I thought the Texans also had a pretty darn good shot at winning this game.
They had a Super Bowl defense. They had an elite level defense. I think the biggest takeaway from this was, I mean, we've seen now 2 seasons. CJ Stroud's been underwhelming since he was a outstanding rookie season. He's kind of regressed to what we thought he was when he got drafted, which was nothing special. Um, I think the biggest takeaway though is Houston's in a really tough spot here.
Mm-hmm.
Where now they have to make a future decision on CJ Stroud. Uh, I think he's going to be playing for the Texans next season, but now we're talking about if they're going to have to give him a contract, if they're going to have to give him, they're going to have to give him a massive contract, and that could go either way, man. You could either fall into that kind of situation of, okay, it works out, we're not talking about this. He's Joe Burrow, right? We're not talking about it. But if it continues to trend the way it's trending, we're talking Tua, we're talking
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson and the Browns. Like we're talking some devastating shit here
Mm-hmm.
for a team that's got talent all up and down this roster. So, or we're talking about the Broncos and Russell Wilson. So, like they're in a tough spot because it's like if CJ Stroud, I'm not talking about bad. He was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he went to throw the ball, you expected something disastrous to happen. Uh, he just did, and it wasn't that he didn't look like himself. He's looked like that all season long, and he's kind of, not at this extent of this bad, but he's been kind of mediocre to subpar for the last 2 seasons, and we're kind of sitting here now and saying, are the Texans losing because of CJ Stroud? Not be are they win? You're expected to be saying after that rookie season and kind of the hype that he gets and him going on his podcast and saying he's a top 5 quarterback. You're kind of expecting it to be the Texans are winning games for Stroud.
Yeah.
You know, CJ Stroud, by this team's not playing next week.
You're 100% right. I mean, he's solely the reason. Solely the reason because that defense played well. They were without Nico Collins, but even then, the impact of what he did is detrimental because the Patriots didn't play all that well. Patriots offense didn't get a lot going until the second half, and that's why they put up 28 points. They didn't have to put up 28. They almost gave it to them because C.J. Stroud threw so many interceptions where it's like, hey, like we're in scoring position, we could score now. That really sucked because it's not that I wanted to see the Texans win anything, but I thought they were a pretty darn good shot to beat the Patriots. And now looking at the Broncos, it's kind of a similar situation. The defense is stellar, but quarterback play, how can we match up with Vrabel's extent with Drake May? It's difficult. The Patriots, again, I'll give them their flowers. They played really well. They played winning football because they won the game. But how easy can we actually say that this Patriots route is, right? Like, are you on the side of they've played four amazing defenses in a row, four of the best defenses in the league? Or are you going to say, hey, they've played some offenses that really struggled, some offenses that couldn't kick field goals, that couldn't score field goals if they tried? Like what side of the fence are you on? It's difficult to gather.
For New England.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna say New England feels kind of boom or bust at this point, but uh, I don't think Drake May's been bad. I don't think Drake May's been great. That's
Hmm.
kind of where I'm getting at. I think he's done some things right, where it's like getting, that we talked about earlier, the big playability for, like that pass with Keyshawn Booty, which was unreal. But the Patriots are just, I don't know. The book's not out on them yet. And that's so weird because we're going into an AFC title game where you have the Broncos and Patriots, and I really can't tell you if either one's that good.
Yeah.
Um, I've never been in a situation where, sometimes a bad team slips into an NFC or AFC title game, or I shouldn't say a bad team, a underwhelming team. I've never had a situation where there are two teams that are one of them is going to be playing in the Super Bowl, and we really don't know what the full capability of that team is because, like, New England goes and plays this historically bad schedule, and then they play Justin Herbert, who we saw. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying New England had nothing to do with Herbert's performance, but to have two historically bad performances from Herbert and Shroud, um, where your defense, not saying that they didn't do anything, like I said, they played their part, but that was majority on Herbert and Stroud. So we really haven't seen who this New England Patriots team is. We know they're tough. We know they're coached by Vrabel. Um, they don't come off as a Super Bowl team.
I kind of agree with what you said there. I think it's all questions here, rather than you look at the other side, the NFC, which is Rams versus Seahawks, and you see two dedicated teams with great defenses, good quarterback play, incredible wide receivers, and stout running backs. Where Broncos and Patriots have all those things as well, but on a little bit of a different level, right? And still, the quarterback play is questionable, and then backup quarterback, blah blah blah. It's going to be an interesting matchup either way. The Patriots do happen to, I will say, they also deserve to be in this position because they have played a really well winning season. Drake May is an MVP candidate. We'll see how this all shakes
Mhm.
out. There's only one game left to cover, right? Those of you who know, the Seahawks did win. It was an absolute belt to ass, pure spanking of the Niners. Seahawks win single-handedly, 41-6. I don't know what answers there are for the Niners, but the Niners obviously didn't show up. They had no chance at winning this game from the start of it. Raheed Shaheed had a return touchdown on the first play of the game. With 15 seconds into the game, they were already up 7-0. The Niners had no offense. The Niners had no defense, no pass game, no run game. This is what it looks like when a professional football team plays a college team, per se. This is kind of what it looks like. And not to bash the Niners so much, but I look at this and I go, I feel terrible for the Philadelphia Eagles, is who I feel bad for. Because they went into Philly, beat Philly, and then showed this performance against the Seahawks. Not saying Philly would do better, but Philly fans definitely look at this as like, what the hell? How bad were we if this is how they got their shit rocked? Honestly, like it was a pretty weird performance, and I wasn't even paying attention to this game because it was over within the first quarter.
Sorry, my child was sleeping here. My dog. No, I agree. my dogs barking are probably more interesting than that snoozer of a
Yeah,
game
yeah,
that was the Seahawks versus 49ers. I I was just very I don't agree with you on the Philly take. I really do think San Francisco came out and game planned for Philly, perfectly. And I think that offensively they kind of blew their gasket. Like they
hmm
burned all the gas they had in the tank. Injuries have just depleted this team, and I think what you saw where they weren't making very smart decisions and the offensive line was constantly getting beat. Uh, you know, poor Brock Purdy was back there running for his fucking life the entire game. Um, it just kind of really felt like it's been kind of the same story with the Niners where it's just like so much injury, and then you get to the last game of the season and it's like fuck, what
yeah,
we have nothing left. We have nothing
hmm
left in the tank. Not saying Seattle, man. We talk about uh we talk about the teams on the other side of the fence and like, is anyone good enough to play in the Super Bowl? Seattle's damn fucking good and looks like a Super Bowl team.
yeah,
They remind me of like the Matt Hasselbeck Seahawks back in the day, where just like every guy at each position is just unreal and could make a difference in the game. And what a uh, acquisition midseason to get Shaheed, right? He's such a
huge.
difference maker. And and also the other thing, we completely forgot how big of a playoff atmosphere it is in Seattle and what that 12th man
Exactly.
actually
Yeah, that I
means.
forgot about. That left my brain. Seattle is again top five places, hardest places to play and best places to play as a Seahawks fan. It is incredible atmosphere over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I
So
apologize if my child I apologize if my child barks again. She's back here in bed, but she's being good and she's chewing on her bone.
I
So
don't think anyone's gonna worry too much. If you're wearing headphones, and that's definitely something that you know.
it might
Sorry
break
about your
your fucking
headphone
eardrum.
people. But yeah, I mean, moving on from that game because that game didn't have that much to talk about. Sorry for the Niners, but going on to the Seahawks, we're gonna go over a little bit of the upcoming games, which we've already covered so much. But just give me a little bit on the topic of who you think is going to win this, and then maybe next week we'll cover
Yeah.
who we think is going to be the Super Bowl champion. So we got Patriots at Broncos, and then the other game is going to be Rams and Seahawks. I'll kind of start off with my end here. I think this is going to be the Patriots versus Seahawks. I think the Seahawks get a little bit of revenge here, but that's kind of where I'm looking at banking on the matchup being here.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna ride with you on that. I could see this easily being Seahawks Broncos. I could see the Broncos finding a way to get a win. However, um, I think the NFL wants this to be Rams Patriots.
Yeah,
They want to see a Stafford versus Drake May, but man, Seattle's just clicking. They're at home. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if the Rams come out and win that game.
and
Um,
that's still a great matchup though. Like I still wouldn't be surprised, but I think it's a
it'll be a
great
fun game.
matchup.
Yeah,
It's going to be an incredible game, more incredible than what Patriots Broncos is going to be. Sorry, I don't have any times written down here, so you guys can figure out the times I want to watch. But that's going to be a pretty awesome game. I'm really excited to see Rams Seahawks, and I'm not going to hate watch the Rams. Right? Everyone thinks that since the Bears fan, I hate the Rams. I'm super disappointed in them. Like no, like they were a good team. Stafford is still someone that I've watched my entire life watching football, so I know how good he is. And this is going to be a really interesting, combination of Super Bowl matchups because it's either going to be Broncos Rams, Broncos Seahawks, or Patriots Rams and Patriots Seahawks. It could be any way, and either way, it's going to be a good matchup for this weekend. Potentially better than what the Super Bowl could be. So tune in for sure to what this matchup is going to be. Any last words here?
I also think, yeah. Last words. I also think there's only one team right now that can give the Seahawks some type of problems, and it's the Rams. For some reason, they don't play well against the Rams. The Rams have Sam Darnold's number. I know he kind of had
Yeah.
a redemption arc in that last game or that last game they played against each other on Thursday night. Was it? I think it was a Thursday night football game. That
Hmm.
kind of was crazy, and they won. They
Yeah.
won in a bunch of 2-point conversions. Yeah, but the Rams, if there's a team that could go into Seattle, win that game, it's the Rams. I think any other team in the NFC going into Seattle probably gets their asses beat. So
Yeah.
it's going to be worthwhile to watch.
Very good point. Very good point there. Because I think if there's any team, you're right. It's the Rams. I'm not sure who other matchup would have made sense more than that one, but there's a close on NFL. We're going to cover the games next week, but from here on out, there is only going to be one game to talk about after this week. So thank you guys for tuning in to the NFL talk. We're going to cover a little bit more on the NBA side of things. There's not much to cover. Obviously, we're going to dive super deep into NBA once things kind of roll over for NFL. But first major topic coming out of NBA talk. I know this is something that we talked about in the group chat for a lot. Us being Bulls fans, we still have a major connection to this player. And we talked a lot about the Warriors in the last podcast with trying to find the right fit for Michael Porter Jr., which now it might make more sense than ever after Jimmy Butler just went ahead and tore his ACL, which is very, very unfortunate for a guy like Jimmy because Jimmy's a leader. He's a guy that plays 48 minutes. He's a guy that's going to give you his full heart each game. And unfortunately, they're going to be without him. And it doesn't sound as if they're too. There's a lot of talk on the return of Jimmy Butler. I think it's a lot of the process of the retirement of Jimmy Butler. Where does this affect you? Like on the level of 1 to 10, how worried are you about this injury to Jimmy?
Yeah, well, um, I I kind of question if Jimmy really wanted to be back um, coming into the season. He just hasn't really played. There was that comment he made where he wanted to be in Golden State because he doesn't have to be the guy. And whenever
Mm-hmm.
someone starts talking like that, that means they're pretty much on their way out the door. Um, I don't know. I felt sick watching him go down because I still have a lot of love for Jimmy. I've enjoyed watching him play uh, in a in a in an NBA that is just full of people who really don't care about the product um, and how poor the product's been. If there's one guy who is going to give it his all, it's always been Jimmy. And yeah, it sucks. Golden State, they still had a lot of pieces to make some things really interesting, I felt. Uh, I don't think Michael Porter's the option. I think it's going to be going the other way. I think it's going to be let's drop a bunch of people. Um, it's going to be let's drop, let's get this Kaminga thing figured out and let's move on from some people and kind of regress a little bit. Like you had mentioned in the last episode, you were saying that the Warriors kind of called themselves a dying dynasty. So I don't know if bringing in Michael Porter is going to help because the whole idea of that was having the three-headed dragon of Porter, Jimmy, and Steph,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's not there anymore. So it's tough to watch someone like that go down, but it definitely makes things a little easier. And I'm interested to see what the Warriors do. Obviously, we know Kaminga trade's coming, but are there going to be
Mm-hmm.
more trades that come after that? So.
Yeah, what you mentioned sounds correct. It sounds like we're entering a large decision that isn't going to be a decision made lightly in terms of how much better can we get, but unfortunately in terms of how can we sell out and how can we kind of continue making strides to build a new dynasty here for Golden State. Jimmy he isn't Steph Curry, so this isn't like a truly end of the road line. So they can go either direction, but Jimmy was that player where it's like they invested a lot in him. He was supposed to help whatever this retool was. At the end of the day, Jimmy's a guy you can trust in the playoffs. So if Warriors made a play-in game, then you'd trust Jimmy could be the second best player and occasionally the first best player if Steph is having an off night. This is terrible, right? This is bad news for Jimmy because Jimmy's career is always so much about strength and perseverance and being the Lone Ranger and being the guy that really do things on his own. But unfortunately, at this point of his career, it's really tough for him to do things on his own, including the rehab process of coming back from a knee injury like this. He's never had an injury such as this severe. And this happening at his age right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, coming back, but also not fully coming back, if you know what I mean. Coming back to play, to give his NBA
Yeah.
flowers, and not to kind of process to be like, I'm gonna try to be an all-star type player. I don't see it happening that way. Very unfortunate for Jimmy and the Warriors, I must say. But that's unfortunately the way the NBA works, and we, as we grow old, so do players, and we have to prepare for the idea that guys like Jimmy will no longer be studs in the NBA. And we have to appreciate those finals runs that he went on. And I'm not talking ill of Jimmy. And Jimmy could easily come back and wow me all he wants. But it's just us reminiscing as former, not former Bulls fans, but former Jimmy Butler Bulls fans, and kind of the way that his career's gone. So we wish the best for Jimmy. I hope he does make some sort of return and he doesn't, lose hope. If he's listening to this, Jimmy, keep fighting, bro. We're here for you. Come to Chicago if you want to really know what pain feels like. Live that all over again. But yeah, man, it's difficult. But there's some good news in the NBA. There's some good news here as Bulls fans
Yeah.
that we should look forward to. And if you're ready to cover that, I'm definitely excited to cover that. That's heading into this weekend. This Saturday, Derrick Rose will finally be getting his jersey retired after a full year of parading it around and manifesting every single good news that has come our way as Bulls fans. He is finally getting his jersey retired on the 24th at the United Center. This is going to be Bulls vs. Boston game. It's going to happen at halftime at the 15-minute mark. I am absolutely so excited for this. I just want to mention it because there's going to be a day next week where we're going to be talking about his jersey is officially retired. This is our last week to talk about the idea of him deserving this and earning this as much as possible. I'm relieved. This is all I ever wanted to see from a Bulls fan. This is probably my big day. This is my championship,
Yeah. I would say this to any player that in any sport, right? Um, Chicago fans really showed the beauty of, their loyalty to players who come here and give us their all, right? And look, it doesn't always mean that you have to win, right? We saw at a Blackhawks game, Jonathan Tays get a standing ovation. Obviously, he's a champion. But 2 days after we lose, they gave a standing ovation to Caleb Williams and a standing ovation to Pete Crow Armstrong. And Derrick Rose, obviously, he didn't get a title for us, but I mean, the fact that he lived and died for this franchise still does. Um, he is like the epitome of what we want our Chicago athletes to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a guy that stayed. I mean, just look at the way we give standing ovations to players like Taj Gibson, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be a great player. If you give us something to remember, something to be proud of, we will celebrate you for fucking ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that I just like my heart is full seeing this happen for D Rose. It's so exciting to see guys like him and Joe and Taj and Kirk um, be back and be involved in the organization. I wish they were running the organization
Yeah.
because fucking all the idiots that are in that front office need to fuck off. But um, yeah, so there hasn't been a lot to celebrate for the Chicago Bulls fans. So give us this one, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This year is going to be a really good one for Chicago fans. Obviously, with the way that the playoffs have gone for the Bears, with
Hopefully.
Derrick Rose getting his number
Yeah.
retired. Cubbies have a pretty promising season coming up, and Bedard's back. But Derrick Rose has meant everything to the city of Chicago. He is the epitome of what you said. Like, if you want to create legacy, if you want to create a name for yourself, then you have to follow the pattern that Derrick Rose did. He is a hometown hero. He is everything you've ever wanted your star point guard to be. Humble, you know, quick-witted. He's a very good athletic basketball player, and I'm just thankful to have watched time with him. And this is more than just Derrick Rose. I think is kind of the big thing. This is more than Derrick Rose. This is that entire team. Because yes, that team didn't win a championship, but do you see how we treat that team? We take, dude, like the Last Dance documentary came out, and after that all happened, I could still sit back and be like, but do you remember that year we had with Boozer and Noah and Ronnie Brewer? Like, that still lives in my mind rent free. So this goes out to those guys, right? This isn't just Derrick Rose getting his number retired. It's all the players that played from 2008 to 2016 that shared the court with Derrick Rose in that moment. That's so special for me. I'm going to try my best to head out there and do some live reporting for you guys and see kind of what the overall vibe is over the tailgate for Derrick Rose night. I'm going to wear my Derrick Rose shoes, wear Derrick Rose jersey, and just relax in this moment because it happened. This is kind of all I've ever wanted. You know, after the whole downfall of everything, this is all I've ever wanted for the Bulls fans. But there's more fans out there, and we're not talking fans of famous actresses. We're talking fans of college football. We're talking fans of college football also got a pretty good game for themselves this past weekend, or on Monday, I should say. That was a pretty incredible game. I remember watching it. I do feel for Carson Beck, but how bad can I feel if we got such a big momentum shift in college football for a team like Indiana? I mean, you've been talking a lot about Indiana before the show started. You had a lot to kind of put into perspective, but what was your favorite part of the game, and tell me why it was Abella Danger?
Well, I was kind of concerned that I like knew how fast I knew that was a Bella Danger when she got pulled up on the jumbotron. Um, my I think I want to say my favorite part of the game, obviously being Fernando's run on that
Mm-hmm.
draw, but um, it was so awesome to see like a not blue blood program win the NCAA title and kind of give this hope to so many other fan bases of like we can also do it. Um, I'm trying to dodge my dog here while I'm talking. She's like trying to get my microphone out of my hand because it's like lighting up.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it just was really awesome. The one thing I will say is I think there's a reason why Indiana was there.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana having the number one largest population of living alumni. You know, Mark Cuban was heavily involved, so they had a lot of donors. They traveled. I mean, they were 80% Indiana fans in the game against Oregon. They were in Miami, and they had a
Yeah.
huge gathering of Indiana fans. So it's like, um, and I mentioned to you before the podcast, the last three champions, Indiana, Ohio State, and Michigan, are in the top five for largest population of alumni, living alumni. Um, there's a trend here of if you have a large base of alumni, you're obviously having a larger percentage of rich donors who give back to the school. So one team that I saw on that list, if we're following that trend, is another Big Ten team. Feels weird to say that. UCLA is number six on that list. Obviously, number three is another Big Ten team. They're Penn State. We've been waiting to see them. Obviously, Penn State's there every year. Um, but UCLA is an interesting thing because they also just brought in a brand new coach. They're completely flipping that organization, but they also have brought in a lot of kids off of NIL. So it will be really interesting to see what they do. Um, but I've never seen a guy come in like Fernando Mendoza did and not only steal the hearts of everyone in America, but also steal the hearts of everyone in the NFL. Because if there was one thing that was clear, he might as well have been wearing silver and black in that game. He will be a Raider. So
Yeah. And it's completely true. This is what's best for a lot of seasons of different sports is when you have a team like this. And you can argue whether it was going 15-0, whether it was, Coach Signetti, or winning the national championship with a guy like with Mendoza. This is good for the sport because this, shows the idea of like, hey, like you don't need to have the guy. You need to have a, a couple guys and a good coach, and you can really make a difference here. Looking at Indiana, and I don't really know what the expectations are for India next season. I don't think it's an important topic right now because obviously, let them let them process the win, let them grow the culture and everything. But heading on to Mendoza, I think this is a pretty interesting topic here because he is definitely regarded as the first overall pick. Lo and behold, it is the black and gray, black and silver. The Raiders are going to have the first overall pick. Do you have any expectations if Mendoza really is this guy? Because they also don't have their coach yet. They don't have a coach lined up. How confident are you in
Yeah.
Mendoza not only being the first overall pick, but being someone that the Raiders should feel confident in drafting?
I think the kid's a winner. I think he has the talent to do it. I think that there are less talented guys who've done it before him,
Yeah.
right? For instance, I don't think Bo Nix is any more talented than Fernando Mendoza coming out of the draft. Obviously, I
Random
think
question,
Bo's
quick question.
improved.
Cam Ward or Mendoza?
Oh,
I think it's a solid,
I gotta
fair
say
question.
Cam Ward because
Okay.
I gotta say Cam Ward. He's got raw talent. You can't really knock him for the way things have gone in Tennessee. Both are very likable guys. Both have a very high winning mentality. They're very professional. But like I said, I really hope a good coach goes in there with Cam Ward because I really do hope that kid is successful because he has a lot of talent. He's a great underdog story. Fernando is a great story as well. Um, I don't know. It's a tough decision. I think in terms of raw talent, I just think Cam Ward's got a little bit more of that, right? But in terms of processing and game managing, I would go Fernando Mendoza because he just uh I've never seen a quarterback make all the right decisions.
He's very coachable too. Is the thing about Mendoza. Mendoza seems like a guy that
Yeah.
is always willing to get better, and he doesn't necessarily think that his play style is always the finished product. Like he definitely seems very very coachable. I wonder who that coach is going to be over there for the Raiders. They haven't made that
Well,
decision yet.
like and he's also got weapons, right?
Yeah,
Like think about it, Dijo. He's got Janty and he's got Brock Bowers.
that's all you need to start a good franchise. That they got those three pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, they got weapons. So they got weapons. And then on the defensive side, they hopefully they still have them, but they got Max Crosby.
hmm
So I don't know. It's a tough situation um,
It's also a really tough division that they're
for
in.
him. Yeah, a lot of people were saying Dante Moore when he didn't want to be with the Jets. Honestly, the Jets are, I think, kind of on the right track.
Yes, in a way, yes, I do agree with you. They had their low season, right? Now it has to be up from here. They can't get worse. They really can't. This is growth for them. Needed growth.
Yeah, well, they also have two picks in the first round next year, and they have the 33rd overall pick, I believe. So they have a really great position in the draft to really get someone. They're interesting because is it even worth going with Ty Simpson?
And I've seen a lot of mock drafts. I'm really interested in how these go. We'll probably do our own mock draft, a first round mock draft somewhere in early March, right after basketball season or something like that. But I'm definitely interested in putting my own little brain together and seeing what I can come up with here. So a lot of interesting names. I mean, unless you have anything else to add, I think that gives a little bit of a wrap to the driveway episode 3 here. We appreciate you guys for sticking around. This was the 7th attempt we had of making this episode, so you better fucking like it. I swear to God, we're not doing that again. But no, we appreciate you guys for listening
I
and
know
tuning in.
at least
hmm
2 hours of recording.
Yeah, 2 hours of recording for about an hour of us actually having a real conversation. But we appreciate you guys for sticking around.
Yeah.
We always finish at the driveway podcast at gmail.com. Send in your questions, send in your rebuttals, whatever you feel you want to talk shit, that's totally fine. Just don't send any photos. Please, no photos of anything below the waist. We're not interested in that. But we appreciate you guys for sticking around. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks,
Yep.
guys.
Talk to you guys later.